It has been 13 years since I started the Dynamic Women community. Lots has changed over the time. And now that I'm in episode 348 of the Dynamic Woman podcast, I think it's time to redefine the dynamic woman because it's, beyond doing it all. And today I'm talking about redefining the dynamic woman beyond doing it all. And a lot of people think the dynamic woman is someone who's doing it all. But that is such an outdated image of a strong woman. Why is it that a strong woman is the one that's hustling and doing all this stuff and filling her calendar and achieving and yeah, this is so outdated. That's the image, and I'm not saying that ever was my definition of a dynamic woman, but it's not about self-sacrifice, self-abandoning, doing it all, holding it all together, and never needing help. I want to question very gently my original intention, where it came from, and make sure that we have evolved, that this definition is super clear as we move into another year where I still stand so strongly behind being dynamic. Okay, so what dynamic is not? I've already shared a little bit of that, but to go even further, it's not productivity. It is not perfectionism. It is definitely not martyrdom, sacrificing yourself. These definitions will quietly and very quickly exhaust women. That's where I was at when I wanted to create the Dynamic Women community. At the time, it was even called Dynamic Women in Action. And I took the inaction off for multiple reasons. The main one is that just calling us dynamic women was enough. We didn't have to be in action because sometimes, especially with the way I was taught as a coactive coach, where there's the being and the doing, and I wanted to make sure that we brought the being in. And so if we're always dynamic women in action in the doing, then we're never in the being. Now, why did I originally start Dynamic Women? Well, it was because after my daughter was a year old, I started to get back into networking and I was like, oh, this sucks. Maybe you feel that way now about networking. It was a lot of like, here's my business card, here's what I do, buy from me. It was very transactional, very surface level, and it was really starting to tick me off. And I thought, okay, I can be mad about this, or I can do something about it. And so there I am, 2 a.m., middle of the night when I should be sleeping. And I'm thinking, what could I do? Like, I want to start this my own group. And because if I can be bitter or I can make things better, and I'm going to make things better. And so I was like, okay, confident women group. And I was like, no, because some women are going to feel like I'm not a confident person. I don't want them to feel left out. Or they're going to think, well, I'm not outgoing, so therefore I'm not confident, and therefore I can't go. And what came up, it was like I downloaded the word dynamic because I thought, well, dynamic sounds really powerful. It sounds in action. It sounds like a catalyst for change. And when I dove deeper, this word was super powerful, but it didn't mean that the woman had to be powerful in a forceful productivity hustle sort of way. Instead, what I found when I started each of my 8 locations for the Dynamic Women community was that every time I started them and I talked about what it meant to be dynamic, the words that I received from the women were polar opposites. I would get, she's a great listener, she's a great speaker, she questions things, she has lots of ideas and answers, she's creative, she's analytical, she's outgoing, she holds space. So, like, on and on and on, we got the polar opposites. And so it basically meant being dynamic was every positive attribute, skill, quality, adjective that was ever possible to define who a woman was. And I thought, great, this encompasses all women. All women get to be dynamic. And over the time, being that I'm very extroverted, though I'm introverted as well, and I'm outgoing and I'm confident and I'm powerful and I do a lot of things, as the pendulum have swung for me to be on more the being side in a lot of my life, as I have struggled with postpartum depression and regular depression and grief and overwhelm and my nervous system getting wrecked and other health issues, I've realized, wow, the dynamic woman it's not about the push and the hustle and all that. It's around so much more. So let me talk now about kind of some stages that maybe you have felt that you've gone through and how that I have gone through in defining what it is to be dynamic and our identity shifts and a little bit more about where we are today in 2026. So the stages that I found in the beginning of me in business 14 years ago, 15 years ago, I was trying to prove myself, right? In the early stages of anything that we're doing, or even in maybe our 20s and such, or as a new mom, or like just earlier on in things, we have this stage of having to prove ourselves. And the way we prove our worth is by doing more. We have to prove we are capable. We have to prove we are competent. And sometimes that means we say yes to everything. We don't select who we're going to work with in our business. We end up doing it all ourselves. We work hours that we don't want to work. And we sometimes self-abandon because we're trying to prove our worth. And maybe we're not feeling very worthy. Maybe we're not feeling enough. And we don't get to be fully ourselves because we're just trying to prove that we belong. As we kind of go over time, we start to set some boundaries and some guidelines and make more decisions because we're starting to feel like a little puff up, like, oh yeah, like now I know more of what I'm doing, and now I can set some of these boundaries or guidelines in my work or rules, whatever we want to call them, policies. And we start to see where we fit in, and our expertise grows, our competence it does, and we start doing better, right? And so we're making these shifts and these changes, and we eventually get to a point where we're just like, screw all of that, you know, self-abandoning and such, and doing all this stuff I don't want to do. I'm going to do what matters. I'm going to choose what matters. I'm going to do the things in my life that are the priorities to me. And it's not like you didn't have priorities before, but it was really hard to stand in them. It was hard to set guidelines and then be firm on them and follow through. And then we get to this point later in life where we get to live the life we really want to live and build the business we really want to build. And what I started to see in some of the ladies in the dynamic women community was that over the topics that we had in the monthly meetings, as they joined my coaching programs, as they worked one-on-one with me, they really were stepping into that higher place, that next stage. And it was almost like they grew up. They really fully came into who they were meant to be. And I loved seeing that. And so then they sometimes would move on, and I'd come up with new ways to challenge them, new ways to help them to evolve, to be more of not just like I have a great life, I have a great business, but now I'm going to be like a catalyst for others and for my community and for the world. It was really interesting to see how they took a lot of the messages, the lessons that I taught, and really applied them because it takes time to really have that maturity in your success and to be able to say, I am not going to push myself for the productivity. I'm going to go for results. I'm not going to go for perfectionism. I'm going to put something out there and then make adjustments as we go. And I'm not going to self-sacrifice, self-abandon, do some self-martyrdom, right? Instead, I'm going to choose what matters and I'm going to value myself and honor myself. And so this is how I started to see people went from proving to choosing. And just as those women, I was guiding them through this, I was also doing my own transformation. And that's kind of why I started to slow down in running the events. I also had a second child. And so having two kids under three was a lot for many years. And then COVID hit and it really put a damper into the live event industry and hard to get us to come together in that way. But I also saw that as my clients and my members were elevating and moving up, I was also elevating and moving up and making different choices for myself. And we went through the different stages, and that also meant that our identity was shifting. Identity across life, definitely shifting across business. I would say things in coaching sessions, or I would say things in my Dynamic Women events, and people would go, "Oh, wait, I wish I was recording you. Can you say that again so I can write that down?" And it made me realize, wow, I didn't know those things before. I wouldn't be able to just rattle those things off before because I wasn't knowledgeable about that. And I had people remarking on like how they've seen me grow and seen how far I've come. And so I want to give you permission that different seasons of your life require different versions of you. I'm going to say that again. I really want you to have this land. Different seasons of your life will require different versions of you. And it doesn't mean you have to change yourself because you're bad. And it means more so that you're going to let go of identities that once served you but aren't going to serve you now. So I let go of perfectionism. I let go of hustle and self-sacrifice. I let go of doing it all myself. That solopreneur that's like, I know how to do every aspect of my business, and I'm doing every aspect of my business, even though it means I'm working till 2 in the morning or missing out on family functions, vacations, being present, whatever it may be. So it's okay to have a different version of you. It's okay to let go of past versions of you, even if people are like, but that's how I love you. Well, you know what? That's not how you want to be moving forward. You have permission to evolve without explanation. And that's the same for a dynamic woman. She gets to evolve with all those different, remember the qualities and the attributes that were totally opposites, polar opposites. She gets to choose whatever comes in. So I'm inviting you, this new version of the dynamic woman, she is releasing hustle as a badge of honor. She doesn't believe anymore that hustle is getting rewarded socially. She doesn't want people to say, "Oh, you're so busy." And she's like, "Yes, I am so busy." She doesn't want that. I hate when people say you're so busy because I've worked so hard to not be, to be able to honor myself and my family. There is such a hidden cost of always pushing. And you might be in a season where you can push and that is working for you. And great. I'm speaking to the women that have pushed for so long and or are now in a place where they have suffered from pushing so hard, from hustling, and they've got to that place of saying, "What now? What now? I've checked off every box. I've had the success. What now? Why am I not happy?" And the dynamic woman gets to be happy. So there's something coming up that I am on January 29th in North Vancouver. I am going to bring these next level, these evolved this redefined dynamic woman together. I'm holding two events on the 29th. The details will be coming soon. But since you are a listener of the Dynamic Women podcast, I really wanted to reward you for that because there is no way I could have won 5 awards for this podcast, that we could be in the top 2% of all podcasts, or had over 347 episodes without you. So I want to reward you for that. There will be a link in the show notes for you to be able to get your gifted ticket for one of these 2 events. All the details will be in there. I don't want to use the time right now to go over it. But if you're curious about this next stage, if you want to come alongside and get some, just be in the energy of that and get some learning around it and meet some other women, like-minded women who are ready for that as well, then I invite you to come, because what replaces hustle is intention. What replaces hustle is discernment, the ability to really choose for yourself what is going to be best for you, to be able to be selective about where you spend your time, or should I say invest your time, where you want to invest your money and where you want to invest your energy. These are all resources that, especially time, it is a non-renewable resource, that it's important that this non-renewable resource be honored. And so this new dynamic woman, you can be her. She's going to choose to be dynamic, but also in life, she's going to choose wisely. She knows that that ability to choose is the power. Her choosing herself, her priorities, her values, what brings her satisfaction is not weakness, it's wisdom. And that's where the new dynamic woman is today. Thank you so much for listening to the Dynamic Women podcast. I just so appreciate you. So make sure you grab your tickets. This is a live event in person in North Vancouver, BC, January 29th. If you're listening after, please still check the link and see if I'm hosting another set of events like this, other dates. And if you are not able to join us in person, then I encourage you to still go into the show notes. There will be a place where you can choose to be put on a wait list for an online or virtual event that will be live. And I'm going to see if I can just recreate what we do in person online. I'm sure we can. And so if you want to get on the wait list for that, I will also gift you a ticket for that event. If you haven't yet, share this with a friend. Sharing is caring. Make sure you hit subscribe. And we would love, our goal in 2026 is to have more reviews of our podcast. So if you wouldn't mind, there is going to be a link there to help you to know how to be able to do a review. And when you do that, please take a screenshot of it, email it over to team@dianerolston.com so that, and with your mailing address, so we can send you a little something special in the mail. Okay, so appreciate you being here. Until next time, stay dynamic. Bye.